How about let's talk about your ethics a little bit for a little bit? Because considering from where I'm standing, I practice what I preach. You are trying to poke holes in that. You think the moderator angle is an adequate one, so you're going to keep trying to put that down. Go ahead. Tell us about how you make merch. Tell us about how much money you get paid from crypto gambling sponsorships.
To the point where Train is talking to Will Neff about the Turkey charity, and then things slide completely out of control, and then Hasan and then calls out Train for crypto gambling. You want me to link it to the thread or not? You remember this happened like this week?
He knows he knows what it is. I know what it is. Yes.
Okay. Then how about Train? You walk me through your initial point. What did you say to Will, and what did you say?
I wanted the call initially to
if you can find a clip, that would be very helpful.
Reach out or
chatter.
To put out
that would be very
branch,
helpful.
Right. I was talking about how I love the podcast, among other things, right? And then the conversation came up. He brought that up as an example, and I clarified the example because at the end of the day, olive branch or not, I think there's an avenue regarding, the socialism in which, Hasan preaches but doesn't act with, right? There's that avenue where I don't think we'll ever come to terms with together, right? So that is the disconnect. I don't know if him and I will find that middle ground for. But that didn't come up because I went on there to talk about it. That just kind of came up passively. If you watch the clip, the entire clip, that was generally a positive call, right? I think he kind of saw the clip and he picked those like 10 seconds out.
As far as like socialism being at odds with my mode of existence, that is another thing that I am very. That is another thing that I've been very consistent on with respect to like having anti-capitalist values while simultaneously still being a fucking dumbass who likes commodities that are luxurious. That has been a consistent talking point for myself for a very long time. So I don't know why you think that ultimately conflicts. Socialism is not a poverty cult. Socialism or anti-capitalism or wanting to make things at least marginally better for working class Americans is not, no matter how much people say, oh, lol, Bernie Sanders has 3 houses fucking owned or whatever the fuck. That is not at odds with the way I live. This is a point of contention, though. I will agree. There's broad debate on the subject matter. There's many different kinds of ways of approaching it, but ultimately it's about the relation to the means of production. That's it. That's all this is. And it's about giving workers more autonomy. It's not about doing charity, okay? I've never said socialism is charity, even though I myself engage in charitable acts. I've been fairly consistent on that as well with respect to just doing it regardless of whatever people say, even if they shit on me. I think XQC can advocate for that as well. I've literally had private conversations with them many, many years ago even about like, it's a good thing. People will shit on you regardless. You should still do it. But yeah, socialism is exclusively and almost entirely about the relations of the means of production and how society is developed around the current organization of the economy and how commodities are produced.
Okay. So you're saying that if there's a distinct point in what he sees socialism and the action you can do to further socialism and okay, it makes sense. Do you agree with what he said? Did you know what he said?
No.
He says that socialism, right, is more the means of production and the worker stuff, and not the whole spread the wealth thing. And I think you say, oh, he should spread the wealth more type shit, right?
I would agree. So
yeah,
I would agree with
spreading the wealth is not socialism. If that was the case, then Jeff Bezos would be the #1 socialist. You know what I mean? He albeit a very minor part of his overall wealth, he gives back fucking hundreds of millions of dollars. That he would be literally a socialist if that was the case.
So I think the point is this, right? Preaching socialism without action is literally just capitalism. Do you understand? If you preach the idealistic way that society should operate, yet you don't implement any of those systems, right, within your own, let's say proportionally within your own community to show that these systems can work. Just wait.
No. I love that. No, that's actually a great point. It's a great point, and it unfortunately fails to capture how inescapable capitalism is. Do I benefit from it? Absolutely. I'm a profoundly fortunate person, something that I regularly acknowledge and talk about all the time. I'm very privileged. I'm very fortunate. These are things that I do not hide. I'm wealthy. Another thing that I do not hide. I don't know why people always say that I hide it. But
do you understand that?
But ultimately, like if cooperatives can work individually, and I can point to socialization working in other countries, for example, like in European social democracies like Norway, even in Canada, it works better than the United States, even though it has its flaws. So there are instances of like socialization, not socialism, working in other countries, and yet that is still not changed people's minds in the United States of America. So I don't know why you think that like something completely and entirely removed from socialism itself, which would be me, like, I guess, doing socialism in my own community. I don't know how you would do that, but I would love to hear your perspective. I don't know how that would genuinely change people's minds in that regard. But as far as like my own form of commodity production, I work with union labor in union shops in the United States of America, and it's domestically manufactured when I do merchandising. And I have some form of cooperative organization where the people that I work with, not my workers per se, but people that I work with, whether it be my producers or editors, have full autonomy over their times, full autonomy over how much they make, full autonomy over a percentage of the profits or even more. Not only that, but they also have editorial independence, like in the case of Ostenox, who can say what he wants, and I'm not going to, go after him unless he's making an erroneous mistake. So that's
Which
it.
He has
that's my perspective, and I think I try to live by my values as best as possible, and I think I do a decent job, I think, at that.
That perspective is convenient, in my opinion. Like, it's a convenient perspective to have, right? Like, if I would accept that perspective.
Wait, why is it convenient?
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. So everything that you do would be completely fine, right? If you moved away from these extremisms, right? And you moved more so to the middle, and you're like, okay, listen, guys, I'm a capitalist, but I believe in socialist systems to be mixed in with the capitalistic systems to create a better society, right? To grab the good of both. You understand? But the problem is you're completely shitting on capitalism. You're completely eat the rich, anti-capitalist.
I'm losing you again. Everyone can hear you except for me. I'm sorry. Can you hold on? We're gonna have to do this again one more time. Let me turn off the camera and turn it on again. Oh, I can hear you again. Thank you. I have a Discord issue. Sorry. I really do want to hear what you have to say. Can you start from the top?
Yeah. Can I juice up real quick then? Since we had a little disconnect.
Wait, what?
Yeah. He's got to juice up. It takes a second. Okay. Yeah.
Wait, I want to.
I'll let him explain his own thing.
What?
But he's got to juice up. You never juice up?
Listen,
let him juice up. Like, come on, what the fuck is this?
You disconnected, so give me a little juice up.
Yeah, by the way, this is the terms of service on page 3,
Fair.
by the way, about juicing up. Yeah, I'm not gonna paraphrase what he said. I'm just gonna go through it. Also, there's a bunch of actual interesting points that I have that I had made note of. So I didn't want this to get too sidetracked. I am taking notes though about things that I think you guys can make amends on.
Okay.
Like the earlier point, I think the first point, I think you owe him some sort of a comment, and on the second point, he owes you one. I think you guys are like 1-to-1 on the things that you guys should say to each other. But I mean, I'm trying to be. I'm just saying.
I'm laughing at one of your chatters. I'm actually one guy in your chat. Hasan absolutely hates the fact that he can't peddle out cheap merch made in China for 4 cents because he built his brand around being the SJW guy. That is an incredibly cynical perspective, and I know that is only shared by people who literally cannot see that people sometimes actually do end up living their values. That says more about you, Aniram, than myself. I'm going to be honest with you. If you want to get lectured, I can do that for you right now. But that just only shows how cynical you are. It's no different than like Aiden Ross constantly being like, oh, everyone is in it for the money. It's like, yeah, bro, you are. Yeah, I get it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Anyway,
okay, but now I want to hear TrainWrecks's perspective on the issue.
TrainWreck. Yeah. Well, I guess it would be TrainWrecks's in that situation, or maybe TrainWrecks. Anyways.
Okay.
Hey, Jesus. Go ahead. Say a thing about the socialism, capitalism type shit.
Okay, so if you moved your like ideations or whatever the fuck you call it, more so to I'm a capitalist, but I believe in socialist values. I believe in socialist systems. I believe in more of a mix, right? If you pushed it more to the middle left, it would make sense to exactly what you do. It makes sense to your entire business model. But to sit there and
wait, what? Address why it's conflicting.
Well, I'm getting there. But to sit there, right, and to sell, right? Think about this, okay? Your entire business model, in my opinion, is that of a capitalist business model, right? You sell how the world should be, right? While justifying not implementing those very systems of how the world should be by saying you're just participating in society. That's fine. You can participate in society, but at the very least, in the position that you're in, making what you make, in my opinion, the words are not enough. You should be implementing these very systems within your own community to show that these systems work. Do you understand? On a proportional level, if you cannot implement the very systems you preach that should be implemented within America into your community of 30,000, then I would just say you're grandstanding and you're just selling an idea to make money yourself, right? Like,
that's great.
To me, that's
that's a great point. That's a great point.
And
You're absolutely correct on it if your understanding of what I advocate for was sound. And I think this is a normal misunderstanding, and a lot of people have this misunderstanding. I just gave you examples of a relation that I have where I am producing commodities with the help of others that are involved in the process. And I told you that I utilize, when I am actually producing commodities, utilize the same values that I uphold, okay? Whether it be unionized domestic employees that I am, whenever I'm working on merchandise, or whether it be having a cooperative podcast or having full autonomy and having everyone set their own wages with relation to how much profit or how little profit a certain venture makes. That is as close as you can get to like multiple different formations of trade unionism, an anarcho-syndicalist perspective, and also some level of socialism. So from that perspective, you are objectively incorrect. In most other circumstances, I have no control over it. There's nothing I can do. Like as far as turning Amazon into a cooperative corporation, I can't do that. It is a massive, almost $1 trillion operation that I have no control over.
Okay, so what you're saying is that for you, the socialism aspects are only the means of production and the workers and the fact that the unionize or not. It's all about the workers. Okay, I have a question then. When you have a podcast, the Fear and Pod, how much are the guests and producers paid on that show?
1/3 of the entire revenue.
The guests are paid?
No, the guests are not paid. The guests can come on voluntarily, of course. If they would like to get paid, we would, of course, pay them if there was like a guest fee or anything. But we don't pay guests. We are not interested. We're not interested in having a guest on specifically to make money. I don't think that would be weird. I think
that makes sense.
Yeah, but yeah, March gets 1/3 of the entire revenue generated at the moment from the Fear End podcast operation, which you can go and subscribe to at patreon.com/fearend.
Listen, every system that you mentioned in which you apply your socialist values to, you are making money from these systems, and that's fine. That's okay. But the areas that I think should be more consistent in are the ones where you take a percentage of your wealth. Now, listen, this argument that your chat gives or you give or your loyalists give of, so if you're a socialist, you have to be broke on the streets, that example in itself has to be the most delusional, extreme example. Why combat?
I don't know what you're talking about. Explain what you mean. I'm a little slow. I'm a dumb guy. I need you to break it down for me a little bit. I'm serious.
Okay.
What do you mean? I just gave you an example of where I do this, and I want you to explain what you mean.
What I mean is, do you not preach a society where healthcare is free, a society where education is not as backwards as it is in America today, right? These systems, in my opinion, you are in a position where if you truly believe that implementing these systems are a real thing, you are in a position to do something that matches what you say. Otherwise, you're just selling false hope in a business model fashion, which is capitalism, right? In a nutshell, to make the money. That's easy to do, but you are in a position to do more. Do you understand?
Do you want me to open up a hospital? Because I think you're.
It's not about opening up a hospital. It's not.
What is it about? Give me specific examples of what I can do, so I can tell you if it's like feasible or not.
Okay, so for example, I know a lot of your vocal minority community argue that the mental health care program is a charity, right? But that program, the part of the charity that it is just the part in America. If we were to implement that program, right? taxes would pay for the program. In this situation,
absolutely.
Real quick. In this situation, we don't have that luxury, right, of having a tax system to draw a lot of money from the people. So what's replacing it is the charity aspect. To confuse that the system itself as a charity it's not comparable to the excuse I'm not doing it. The
are you asking me to provide everyone in my community healthcare?
I'm asking you to follow through with what you say. So to create, create the system, create education as well, right? You could create a system in which you put a percentage aside that you believe the rich should put aside in America, and you implement that on a small scale to show that, listen, guys, this works. If we can do it, so can America. If you can't even do it yourself and you give these excuses.
So you want me to set up like a 501c3 specifically to like pay the hospital bills of every single member in the community that pays?
No. It's about creating a system. You understand? Ignore the actual payment of. It's a system that reflects what you preach and delivers it to people who do not have the financial means to get what you believe they have a right to get. Do you understand? That's what it's about. That's what implementing, that's what the actions over the words means when you sit there and you preach what you preach on a daily basis and make millions from it, right? And that's okay to make millions from it. It's okay.
But Train.
But there needs to be an implementation of it.
You understand I'm not the government, right? Like
I just explained the proportional or the comparison between what would be right in this situation. You create a system, and through your own donation, you would be virtually the tax system that would pay for it in a governmental form, right?
Okay, like that's what you're describing. What you're taking the long way to describe is literally, first of all, charity. For the record, insurance on the other hand,
the difference.
Or taxes on the other hand. Insurance or taxes, which are two different ways of funding. Some form of healthcare or a payment mechanism for healthcare, revolves around people paying into a system and then getting it back in the form of, adequate healthcare, right? This is how it works. So you and I are in agreement, I think, as far as how the government should operate this, right? I think you believe in free healthcare, right? I think.
I do, yes.
Okay,
healthcare is, I believe healthcare is a right?
So,
I believe
absolutely.
Our education system is completely backwards. I believe we should be encouraging students to go to school. We should be encouraging students. I believe the new baseline should be college. This idea where we're pushing that college is unnecessary, you can't apply this or that, I think is ridiculous. But I do think it stems from our backwards financial education system.
So
right?
how can I do what you're describing without building a hospital or building a 501c3?
I just explained it.
Wait,
I just explained, right? For example, the program I have, right? It's easy to compare the two and say, oh, it's a charity. No. The charity part of it is replacing the tax system in which the government would pay for that system. Since we don't have that tax system, taking a percentage of what you make, like you preach should happen for the rich, right? And putting it into that system, right? So what you make, a percentage of what you make going into that system would be replicating what the government has for taxes, right? We'd be taking it out of our pockets monthly, right? For each respective community across Twitch, across YouTube, across Kick, across wherever.
Yeah, you're saying you want to start, if I'm not misunderstanding, you want to start like a healthcare structure for Twitch watchers that us Twitch streamers put together.
Yes.
Yes, us Twitch streamers, we put together a healthcare structure. Okay.
Is that socialism though? Is that
that's not? No, it's not. It's just, but it is. But it is nice. It's not socialism. That's not socialism. But it is nice. It is nice. It's a good idea. It's a charity.
Distributing the wealth of the rich into systems that give healthcare to the poor is exactly the values of socialism. Is it not?
Yes, you're right. But by your logic, then charities would be considered socialism, but it's not.
No.
And also, if charities eradicated the existence of these problems, if charities eradicated the existence of these problems, then in the United States of America, it's one of the most charitable countries on the planet. We would literally not have a single person die because they can't get their diabetes medication, which is why you have to advocate for the government, as I do all the time, not only put pressure on congresspersons, but like literally directly talk to them from time to time as well, and utilize my community to go vote a certain way. I am technically trying to do that in a grander scale. It's unfortunately very difficult to accomplish.
So let me ask you this. If the socialist himself cannot find a way to distribute a percentage of his wealth, who do you expect to do it? The fucking capitalist sitting at the top? It needs
No,
to
they're never
start
gonna do that.
somewhere.
No,
it
of
needs
course
to
not.
start somewhere, right?
No,
If we can't do it on this level, how are you expecting a country of 335 million to implement it on that scale? We need to find a way to proportionally scale it within our business models, whether it's the charity aspect, replacing or replicating the tax system. Do you understand? Like, the action needs
you
to be
do
there,
realize
otherwise nothing
countries
will
have
change.
socialized healthcare, right? Like the UK has the NHS system. So like literally just pointing to that should be able to have a wake up moment for the minds of millions of Americans. But it still hasn't worked. So technically what you're saying is well intentioned. And I love that you're saying this, but it demonstrably doesn't work. I point to actively working socialized healthcare structures on a daily basis, and yet I have not been able to, individually at least, move the needle on getting Americans to get on board with Medicare for all. Neither did Bernie Sanders, again, unfortunately.
Okay.
We'll agree to disagree on that. And next topic.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Wait, what? I don't know what the disagreement there is, though. I gave you an example of socialized healthcare working in a larger system, okay, and pointing to that, and yet that still doesn't get Americans on board in certain instances. But the reality is, even if all Americans were on board, okay, even if every single American, like the abortion ban, for example, were on board, 75% of Americans thought abortion should be protected, and yet the Supreme Court decided against it. Why? Because that's just how it is. When the rich and powerful get together and build billions of dollars worth of dark money funded super PACs and lobbying groups, they get their way regardless of what the Americans think or feel. And the same goes for healthcare as well, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry with a lot of people making money that you and I would look at and go, holy shit, that is a lot more money than we make. That is the unfortunate reality here. That's what we're going up against. So pointing to an example of like a charity individually working within my community or within Twitch, okay, that's a very nice thing to do.
It's a system.
And we can talk more about it.
Is disingenuously being presented.
It's not disingenuous. There's nothing wrong with charity.
What he says though is that he says that inherently that's not the socialism that he's supposed to uphold, like you think he is. When he
so what socialism is he to? So the socialism is okay.
Labor. His socialism that he pushes. Or
so the socialism that requires him to give no percentage of his money and only requires him to preach is the socialism.
Well, I
he's
do
for.
pay.
You don't find
I
that
do
convenient?
pay a decent amount of taxes in California, but that's not. But I don't consider that to be social.
We legally
like
have
Keynesian economics. That's wealth distribution, and I think that's adequate, and I think that's apt. I wish that billions of it wasn't used on fucking finding new and creative ways to like blow brown children in fucking school buses in Yemen. But unfortunately, that is what our American government has decided to spend it on. That is an unfortunate byproduct of living here. But even the meager amount of that goes back into funding the roads, funding the school system, I'm happy with and I'm comfortable with, and I talk about it during tax season all the fucking time. But if you think that like charity is socialism, then I
didn't say charity is socialism. I was referring to a system that we create as a streamer, and the charity aspect, right, which provides that system, would be the way we replicate the tax system, right? Within America, the government has a tax system which they would funnel their money into programs for the people who can't afford it. It would give people access to healthcare. It would cover certain educational costs to push education through. What I'm saying is we create a system, and since we do not have a tax system,
you just
we can
swapping
use
the word charity for system, by the way. Like that's what you're doing, which is fine. Again, I have no issues with charity. I'm showing you
the difference, right? It's about creating the system, right? And the charity would be the pool of money used to fund that's the system that gives healthcare to your community to show that it works. What you preach works. You can take from the rich and provide for the poor, provide for the people who don't have the
real charities at the top of the hour,
security or the luxury.
Where there's a 3-minute ad
in
break.
America, which is so.
And if you no longer want to see those
luxury,
ads, you can get gifted a sub.
Healthcare, right? To have basic educational costs covered. To push that, we need that kind of stuff, right? So I believe we need to act instead of just preach. Otherwise, where does it start? Where does the chain reaction start?
Yeah, this is a misunderstanding. I think he kind of agrees with you, right? But at the same time, when you say to uphold socialism, in his view, he does, because socialism is the means of production, and the workers and the labor, right? That is his socialism. So even though he agrees with you, he still doesn't agree with the fact that you think that this is socialism when he said what his socialism is. Right? So that's what this disconnect is. So I do agree that there's a domino effect. There's
because what he's talking about is just charity, which is great. I love that as a concept, and I'm on board with it. It's just not, it's demonstrably failed to improve. That doesn't stop me from giving money to charities, all right? Obviously. That doesn't stop me from funding money or doing fundraising for charities and also directly donating. But if what he was talking about as far as charities actually solved the issues, listen, the United States of America would have no healthcare issues.
To help you understand this, okay, take a look at my mental health care program, okay? Because you keep saying charity, okay? So yes, the money goes into the charity to hold, right? What I'm referring to is the system that's created, right? The viewer can now, that does not have access to healthcare, can now have a way through me taking a percentage of my wealth and putting it as a funding source to free healthcare. This is this, ignore the charity part of it. It's the system. This is what I mean by actions over words.
Yes, you're right. If everyone was paying into, but in the form of taxes, if everyone was paying into the government and the government was like, we're going to take some of this money and we're going to build hospitals, we're going to build rural hospitals, which is a major problem as well in America. And we're going to make sure that everyone can get health care for free when they go into a hospital. That would be socialized medicine. It would not be socialism. It would be a form of socialization.
So couldn't you implement what you preach into a system like that for your community to have access to things that they don't have access to because of their financial means, right? Because of their financial situations. That's what I'm asking. It's easy to preach, I think that
is doable, certainly. It's not impossible. The problem in that situation would be that it would require me dropping everything I normally do and basically learn an entirely new set of skills. It would not be a system. It would, again, just be a charity, that a 501c3 that I would have to set up. And I, unfortunately, am a dumbass who doesn't know anything about setting up a 501c3, which is why I usually, just like you did, work with other 501c3s that are pre-existing in this regard. But again, I have raised and also funded more than $500,000 last year, which is a marginal amount in comparison to how charitable you are. You're a very charitable person. And this year so far, almost like $2 million, if I'm not mistaken, to various different causes. I don't think that that is socialism. I just want to make that clear. I don't think that that's socialism. I do it because I think it's the right thing to do. I'm a very fortunate person, and I think the capacity to be able to give back is a good thing. That's why I do it. But even by that metric of like, if you think that building these sorts of systems is socialism, then I guess I'm a relatively socialist person.
I think it's right, for each individual, right? It's a value within themselves, right? So if you're making X amount of dollars, I believe because of the fortunate situation both you and I are in, I do believe in higher taxes for us. I do believe in both of us taking a percentage of our wealth and putting it into systems, right, that can distribute it to people and give them the baseline, what I believe to be a right, which is healthcare, education systems that pay for their schooling based on, let's say, hardworking students or whatever the hell that is, GPA, whatever you want to measure that by, right? That's what I believe. So what I'm saying is, I do think, ignore the charity aspect. I'm referring to the systems. The charity is just a funding pool in this comparison, right? I believe we should not just talk it, we should act on it. Right? So we should take a percentage of our wealth, whether it's 20%, 30%, 10%, whatever it may be, and put it towards systems that give what we believe to be a right to the people that don't have access to these things that I believe should be a right, right?
I think the system you're describing is a 501c3 though, right? Like that's...
Well, in this situation, the 501c3 would be provided, and all you would have to do, right? So let's hypothetically say for this mental health care program, right? Wouldn't you say, if you don't want to create that this is it's right there, right? It's a system you believe in for your community, right?
So yeah.
So why
Hassan doesn't agree with. I'm just agree.
Okay, go ahead.
Hassan doesn't. Even though he thinks these things are good and he wants to do those things, and sometimes he hasn't, or maybe he will in the future, he still doesn't view that as a fundamental socialism.
Wait, first of all, I do those things. Let's make it clear. I think I do a decent of a job at doing those things.
Yeah, but I still think that he doesn't view that as the fundamentals of socialism, and that's not what he preaches.
Yes.
Therefore, he doesn't feel like you've gotten him on the, yo, dude, you haven't donated this much. Well, Hassan doesn't feel like you got him on not doing what he preaches, when this is not what he preaches in that regard to socialism. That's what he feels like.
So you're picking and choosing what aspects of socialism apply based on what you have to act on, what you don't. I'm confused.
I mean, ask Hassan.
So we're cherry picking what parts of socialism we want to preach, and those are dependent on which ones actually require you to distribute a percentage of your wealth into systems that distribute it to the people that are less. It seems like we're cherry picking what we have to act on and what we don't. It just seems very convenient to me.
I think that the fundamental disagreement here is that charitable donations is socialism is like kind of your perspective here. I don't want to put words in your mouth. You can correct me, but that's all I've heard from you. As far as like maybe you don't say charitable donations, you say systems, but that's kind of what you're talking about. And that is fundamentally not true, which is fine. It's still fine, though. You're right. I think it's a good thing to, again, uphold charity and try to do your very best to help others who are less fortunate. But if you're asking me as someone who like at least describes the concept of what socialism is, that is not true. What you're describing is just fundamentally just a 501c3.
I feel like there's a disconnect for you and probably with others as well in what I'm referring to, okay? And the only reason, okay, let's take my mental health care program as an example of this, since it's the only thing I can show you in this regard that's on Twitch that can help you understand this, okay? So ignore the charity aspect of what's going on there, okay? That's there. The reason I had to work with them is because obviously as a streamer, right, we don't pay some sort of streamer tax within Twitch where we can funnel that money and put it towards systems we believe in, right? So ignore the charity aspect. Instead, compare it in this system, right? When I say system, I'm referring to the system where I take a percentage of my wealth monthly, put it into, let's say, a pot, and from there, access is given to viewers in my community that do not have access to mental health care, right? That charity is only replicating what the U.S. government, it's proportionally replicating, right?
Yes,
what the U.S. government has for a tax system.
What you're describing, yes, exactly. The main difference is voluntary donations versus taxes, right? And you're right.
That's the only way that we, right, proportionally as
you
streamers.
You have to understand you're describing a charity when you keep explaining it, though. Like that's the charity that you work with, RAD, right? You work with RAD.
Yes.
Is a pre-established 501c3. It's a charity. So you are giving money to RAD, which is a wonderful thing. Okay, it's great.
It's a separate program, right?
Okay, it's a separate program. Sure.
It's a separate program within RAD. I'm using RAD to replicate what it would be in America using their tax systems to pay for mental health care. Do you understand?
You're not wrong. That is actually a very decent way. That is a very decent way to describe. That is a very decent way to try to describe socialized healthcare and why it's ethical and why it's the right thing to do. I agree with you if that is what you're saying as far as like socialized healthcare. It's still not socialism. So if you're asking me what socialism is or if it conflicts with my values that I haven't like set up a 501c3 personally.
It's not about setting up it's about taking a percentage of your wealth like you preach the rich should do and doing it yourself and implementing it, right? So if you understand? So do you do that? Do you take a percentage, 10, 20, 30% of your wealth and put it towards systems that give free healthcare to the people? Or are you just relying on the tax systems of America as your distributive wealth process?
I definitely do donate a lot more than just what the taxes are. Absolutely. I do. I don't know what percentage of my overall wealth that is, but yes, I absolutely do. Regardless, though, I don't think that is socialism. I do it not because it's socialism. I don't do it because I want to make like...
I think you're misunderstanding my point, right?
Look, my point is this. Billionaires have something called the Billionaire's Pledge. I don't know if you've ever heard about this. It's actually a very interesting concept, okay?
Okay. Yeah.
So, like the Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, numerous other billionaires, some of the wealthiest people on the planet have joined what they call I believe, the Giving Pledge, which is it's a hold on, I'm going to pull it up real quick so I don't give you any false information here.
Why don't we start the Millionaires Pledge and we play it on Twitch? And
No. Hold on. Well, I'm going to talk about how fraudulent it is in a second.
Oh shit!
The Giving Pledge is a commitment to philanthropy. The Giving Pledge is a promise by the world's wealthiest individuals and families to dedicate the majority of their wealth to charitable causes. Now, the issue is that this is just simply a PR move for them. They do this because they set up their own charitable donations, their charitable contributions, and they put all of their stock options into that charity in an effort to avoid taxes, right? That is the main reason why they do this. That way they can look like they're giving back while, buying from or buying whatever the fuck from they want from the pool of funds, utilizing it as a tax cut. It turns into a non-taxable entity. And he thinks that this is what praxis is, like socialism in action. I fundamentally disagree. And yet I still actually do engage in the thing that he's talking about.
Me too. I just don't tell anybody about it because it's useless.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't used to tell people about it either. But obviously a lot of people kept saying, much like Train, Hasan, you're fake. You don't practice what you preach. You don't give back to people, which is a false understanding of socialism in general. So I did start telling people about it. And now they say I do it for clout, which, of course, I always knew it was going to be a damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario. So I just do whatever the fuck I think is the right thing to do, and I keep my fucking head down and do it.
Right. So
even your chat, your entire chat is capping right now. Your entire chat. Like, there will never be charitability to anything, and I don't even expect it. Like, it's just...
No, this ain't kept to me because I said I do charitable stuff and whatever because in terms of education because I own my own shit, but I don't. I think it's freaking lame. Whether they think that I do or not, or they accept it and they validate the amounts or not, I think it's useless to talk about it. I just do it because it helps, and I'm sure down the line, somebody that was helped by one of these things when they're balling out and they're millionaire, they will do the same thing, and there's domino effect. I truly believe that giving back into systems like healthcare, like education, when somebody is a recipient of these things, when they ball out, there's a good chance they'll do the same because this resonates hard with them. It creates a domino effect. And the more people do, the more it resonates and the more it grows. That's just how it is. That's my perspective. That's my view on it. But I still don't think that's socialism, though.
It's not. I don't think you would say you're a socialist or you would be a socialist for doing that. I don't think Train is a socialist for doing the charitable donations, the RAD.
The system itself would be a socialist one. Do you understand? The system, the idea of it, not the actual donation.
Well, I also personally gave you an example. I gave you an example of like a commodity production or creating something new and different that in the form of like the podcast that is a cooperative style governance, I guess.
Would you agree everything you've mentioned that you do that you believe is aligned with your ideas of socialism, you profit from? Don't you think that's yes. Just a little distant?
Yes. No, that's literally okay. See, this is perfect. Thank you for saying this. This is literally the fundamental misunderstanding. Socialism is not about doing things because you're a nice guy. Socialism is just about who is producing the shit and how much more freedom they get.
There is a difference in profiting more from the preaching or the ideas of the socialism, right? It's not like you're making a business, right? And then you're getting
that is a business. What I described to you is a business. What I described to you is a cooperative formation of a corporation.
A percentage of everything that you do in the name of socialism should go towards systems?
Train, you're not understanding. Train, you're not understanding what I'm saying. Train,
okay, continue.
You literally There are many different ways of democratizing a workplace or democratizing an economic organization of society. One of those, is a cooperative corporation. Okay, that is precisely why my producer, who is producing the labor, who's creating part of the podcast, who sets up the Patreon and whatnot, and sets up the cameras, for example, that person is getting 1/3 of the overall revenue. Okay. That is inherently a socialist formation. He also has autonomy. He also gets to say, I want to do it on this day. I want to do it on that day. Okay, I want to do the podcast on this day. These are things that we democratically decide. Now, this is a cooperative corporation. That is actually closer to like what is literally socialism, at least in a corporation, a socialist organization of the economy within the corporation, than anything else that you have described. That would be one form or one aspect of democratization of the workplace. Okay? That is actually what you want out of me. I'm already doing that. But if you're talking about like setting up a system or
so how does
whatever
that
you
work
want to call a charity.
How does that work with Twitch then? So you bring up the podcast. How does that work with Twitch, right? Let's say hypothetically you're making $6 to $10 million from an ad-heavy deal, right? Which if you show that deal, which you can't because you're binded by a contract.
Do you think I should pay my viewers for watching me on
Not
Twitch?
pay your... I'm referring to, you bring the podcast up as 1/3. Are you paying, right, a percentage or something proportional to the millions that you're making off Twitch, right? Is that something you're doing as a socialist, right? Does that carry over to your Twitch? So sure, I believe you for your podcast.
To who? To what?
To editors, to moderators.
Yes.
So you're paying moderators or a head of moderation?
No, not editors and not moderators. I do have a compensation mechanism for my moderators. Okay. It is not one that I often publicize, specifically because I don't want moderators to come on board exclusively because they want to, use this as a job opportunity. There is a compensation mechanism but I don't like talking about it specifically because, like I said, I want moderators to be a part of the community and not necessarily working and not necessarily doing it as labor, which is most of the reason why I try to, as best as I can, maintain all of the other avenues of moderation on my own, whether it be running ads, which, by the way, I should be running at least a middle of the hour ad break and things of that nature.
Wait, let's stop. Everyone, both of you are on your
deals. Hold on. As far as editors goes, yes, of course, I pay editors directly. I pay editors directly out of. Wait, I don't know what he's. I don't know why he's saying.
I was saying play your minute ad and I'll juice up.
No. Anyway. Listen. As far as payment structures goes for my editors, they are the ones who make their pay. In many instances, they're making more. They are the ones who I routinely have a conversation with, where they're the ones who dictate what their pay is. I am routinely paying them even more than the value that they're actually generating for the videos that they're creating. And the only way I can subsidize that is because I'm making money off of Twitch. So in a way, yes, I am utilizing Twitch revenue to pay some of my editors.
But not your moderators to the same percentage as, let's say, the podcast to your Twitch, right? So your main income channel is the biggest one, right? And that's the one that's exempt from the from the proportion.
Because not only that, but the reason why this works the way that it does is because there are certain aspects that I want to maintain as far as autonomy goes, as far as the freedom, as far as like no demands made of anybody, because no one is as big as a freak as myself who's gonna fucking sit there for 8 to 10 hours and watch shit. Okay, that is an unreasonable demand to make from people. I don't make that demand from my viewers, and that is precisely the reason why I want my viewers to be invested and interested in doing whatever the fuck they want to. The funny thing is, I know I train is so fucking horny bringing up the mods. Oh, it's probably okay.
Wait, why is it?
Okay. It seems like
so
this topic.
One thing that you need
why
to.
Is it? Is it what I pay my mods? Is that why?
Well, I don't know, but one thing that you need to also understand is that, and this is a really good conversation, I brought up a cooperative ownership of the podcast specifically because it's one very unique formation of workplace democracy, because someone in that situation is generating value, right? Someone in that situation is generating value. They're working, they're laboring, right? And instead of a wage compensation in that structure, I'm giving them a percentage of revenue. Now, originally, when the podcast wasn't generating any revenue, I was just paying out of pocket to be like, listen, whatever you want, eventually we will be able to generate revenue, which we are now. And at that point, you'll be able to get a third of that, right? This is there are certain aspects of it that I want to maintain and make sure that is as ethical as possible, right? In that structure. That is the reason why I brought up the third in the cooperative formation, a third of the revenue in the cooperative formation, is because that is only one element of a pay structure. There are many different ways of doing it, but the one fundamental thing that remains is worker autonomy and people that are generating value getting back what they make, getting back what they add. That is inherently a socialist way of working.
They're getting back what they add, and who determines what they get paid based on what they add? Well,
in that circumstance, there is no perfectly scientific way. I mean, we're getting into the labor theory of value, obviously, but there's no, in my opinion, there's no adequate way of making that assessment, which is why I oftentimes will leave it up to people that are making the demand itself while they're simultaneously generating revenue. Because there are a lot of situations where a venture that you get into is not actually making money, right? And I think people are still generating some sort of value even when they're not actually making money, because even when the business itself is not actually making money, because the business could potentially make money in the future. Okay? Do you understand? Which is why I think it's better off left up to the people that left up to the people that are working in that circumstance.
Yeah, I think the problem is that
by the way, I can't believe the level of interrogation that is happening with my own personal finances or the way I live my life is unimaginable. But the reason why I do it is because it is something that I'm very confident in. Okay, it is something that I'm very confident in the way that I live it. But it is a ridiculous ask. I want people to understand. Like, I don't have an issue talking about this shit, but it is fucking wild. Like, not a single streamer has ever been asked this level of fucking detail in any minor thing that they do. Not even motherfucking Trainwrecks, okay? And he gets shit on a lot.
Actually, I've revealed all that.
But it's really frustrating that, like, this is a fundamental thing I believe in, and I advocate for, and I practice what I fucking preach, and yet motherfuckers still always say that I am actually fake. Because people cannot comprehend that it could work that way.
It's not that you're fake, it's that there's certain areas that are hypocritical in nature, right? Like there are certain areas where you pick and choose when socialism applies and when capitalism is okay.
No,
yet you
it doesn't.
preach anti-capitalism in every direction.
Okay.
But you retained none of the things that I just told you, Train. Like I just spent the past hour where you peered into like literally the minutia of my operation, looking for like different places, different avenues to strike. I described all of it to you, and you won't give me the dignity. You won't even give me the dignity of like listening, hearing, and processing that information. That's kind of fucked up. It just seems like an ambush at this point.
No. I listened and I processed. And there was areas
where... The valuable question is because inherently you're a political streamer and you talk about aspects of socialism and then that's what you preach. It's like saying, yo, dude, why do people ask what stocks a stock streamer has on the stock market and not the Apex streamer? Well, because the guy who plays Apex never talks about stock. You talk a lot about like finance and the means of production and all the money as of course they're going to inquire about where your money is and what you're doing with it to better these systems that you're talking about. I think it's just
not necessarily true. No, the only reason why they do that is to literally look for hypocrisy baiting, and it doesn't even matter. No matter how genuine, no matter how consistent you are, it literally doesn't matter, because ultimately, like in the beginning of this conversation, I had a conversation with Trainwreck about literally something that he believes I did, that I told him I didn't do, and he couldn't bring up any fucking counters to it. Like, he couldn't bring up proof to it, and yet we still left it on a 50-50 split.
Well, for that, I remember
like, that's crazy.
But the point of that was the pattern of behavior, right? And I have a lot of viewers messaging me, they remember exactly that, right? But to bring up a clip regarding passive shit talk or the letting of, to kind of push the narratives, right? I can't provide you with a clip at this time. And even if I couldn't, I remember it happening. So that's why we moved on and we agreed to disagree.
What else do you guys not agree on?
That was just showing a pattern of behavior. But that's not enough for us to not come to a middle ground and say, fuck it. Like,
well, no, I think...
Let's get back to the Will Neff clip, right? So I think you're asking about the Will Neff clip, right? And it kind of went off.
What did you bring up about the charity for Turkey, and how did it come about? Why did you say it?
Just watch the clip.
Okay, fair enough. Let's everybody. I'm going to link a clip in the current chat going on over here, and you're gonna click and you're gonna watch it on your own with your community, and then we'll discuss when Train picks up, and not Hassan.
Okay.
So it's Will never brought up the Turkey charity, and it's Train who was gonna make an argument about his initial point about how he wants Hasan to do the systems. But then, since Will,
but like, why are you guys having a conversation about me in general? Like, I don't understand.
Yo, I'm give context to people. So the context is that So, Will brought up the fact that Hasan raised money for charity for Turkey in the context of Train bring up socialism and how we can do things to further socialism in society. And then what happened then is that Train was going to say that the Turkey thing was crowdfunded, therefore cannot be kind of used as a, yo, guys, I'm partaking in these socialism systems, whatever.
And let me clarify on that, because this is an important clarification to be completely fair toward Hasan. Yep. The effect of what he did is the same as both possible intentions, right? So the effect is a net positive no matter how you look at it, right? So the effect of what you did is a net positive. Do you understand? I want to make that very clear. I think what's being argued is the way certain things that you do, the intention that's being described behind your actions, right? Like, that's what I'm referring to, right? I think a lot of times it's used as a, hey, look, I did this. What a great thing I did. I did this, this is an example of what I preach. This is this. People use this as examples of things you've done. But in reality, a crowd fund with a small percentage matched, especially if we get into what you made during the entirety of those 5 streams, I think these are the more genuine ways to bring it up, right? But when it's used to show a intention, I think that's the wrong part in the category of what you're doing. But the net positive from the effect is the same. Therefore, that's why I don't think there's much to talk about here. Does that make any sense? It's the intention that's questionable. And the way it's used as like a credibility is very odd to me. That's the issue. That's why it was brought up.
Wait,
the intention of why you did that, right? A lot of people in your community and yourself use it as like a, yo, I did this, I'm consistent with what I do, blah, 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 right? But I would argue based on, right, it being crowdfunded compared to the part of what you matched relative to what you make and relative to what you made during the streams of doing the charity, that's the part that's questionable. But the effect of the charity is a net positive no matter how you look at it.
Okay, let me just describe something real quick. So first and foremost, dude, for someone who says you hate Reddit, you sound a lot like Redditors, like especially when you're saying this.
I don't go on Reddit.
This is the most Reddit ass, like cynical ass fucking take I could have ever seen in my entire life.
It's not cynical when the intention is being misrepresented.
The intention of why I wanted to set up a charity, set up a fundraiser, a donation portal for the victims of the Turkey-Syria earthquake is because in 1999, when I was living in Istanbul, as a young boy, I survived a very devastating earthquake where 17,000 people died by the most conservative estimate. I know how fucking awful that shit is when a gigantic earthquake impacts a state that is underfunded. My state that I lived in for, the first 18 years of my life. And I also knew that you can't really trust the government in Turkey. Many of the Turkish people will tell you this. So there had to be a way to fund and to give money to specific non-governmental organizations.
I agree.
I knew what the non-governmental organizations were. I went in. I found exactly whichever ones were the best ones by talking to my friends and some knowledge I had over previous earthquakes and natural disasters. And one of the main issues there was that a lot of these organizations, like Ahbap, especially Ahbap, did not have a portal to allow ease of access. Like you couldn't just click on a link and do a drop down, put your fucking information in and just like send dollars to Hop directly. So that is why I wanted to set up a fundraiser, because I knew that
we're not arguing the fundraiser.
So that's the main intention behind why I did what I did.
Yes, and
there wasn't any like secondary reason or anything else.
I'm so tired of this. And then we're gonna do the topic. It gets both become like around the pot. I'm gonna be the devil. I'm gonna fucking say it. Okay, Train meant, yo, bruh, 2 mil is dank. Nobody says 2 mil is not dank. 2 mil is dank. Thank you very much for Turkey. That's very sweet. It was absolutely colossal.
It's a net positive.
50K for somebody like you is a fucking joke, Hasan. It's a joke.
I don't think 50K? So there's a disagreement there. I don't think it's a joke. I don't think it's a little amount of money.
Based on your ad incentive deal with Twitch, wouldn't you argue that the days you ran those ads on those days, along with what you made, don't they add? I mean, didn't you make
when I originally started my contract? I thought it was, but no, you're wrong. You're wrong. No, it's not.
Was it close to that amount?
Insane. No, not even remotely close.
Okay. At the end of the day, listen. I don't want to listen. What you did was phenomenal. The effect was phenomenal. Do you understand?
So, but hold on. This is very important to address.
Yes.
What you're doing right now is not genuine criticism. It's just pocket watching and also undermining something that I did that it wasn't even supposed to. No, hold on. No, that's bullshit. You're just pocket watching and then claiming that it's actually adequate to do so because you claim you're a socialist. No, I already described to you numerous fucking times what socialism is. Charity is not that. Pocket watching like a fucking blue-haired, non-binary Twitter user anarchist and being like, why don't you give all of your money and live in a fucking woodshed is not actually socialism. A lot of dumb motherfuckers on Twitter say that all the time to me, and I yell at them. Just because you're not...
Why is that example the comeback, some extreme rebuttal of...
Because you sound like them, but you look like an ape, so no one thinks that you're like exactly behaving like them. But you are doing that, Train. You got to stop.
Brother, that blue hair. Okay, let's not go to insults.
But they do that. They do that too. They do that. They do that exact same shit that you're doing right now. They do it to Mr. Beast. They do it to me all the fucking time. They, I'm sure, would do it to you if they thought that you were like a person who would like listen and respond to them. You're doing the exact same shit. You are crying like a fucking SJW instead of
crying like an SJW.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. And that is one thing I will not fucking stand for.
No, listen. The effect of the charity is nice. Do you understand? It's a good thing. What you did was phenomenal to crowdfund that. But to push
it's such a disingenuous way to fucking like do an offhanded criticism. Everyone, even the juicers fucking recognize what you're doing right now. You're literally being like, you did a great job, but it was like a little bit. You know, you could have given a lot more money. And maybe you could have, and I'm sure you did. I gave you literally a link for a crypto donation. Yeah. You only gave 50,000. You have like fucking
150,000. Yes.
Okay, well, great. You have a lot more money than I do, so I'm glad that you did that. Even if you gave $10 fucking, I wouldn't care though ultimately because any dollar is good. Okay, any dollar in that circumstance is good.
You preach. Do you understand?
But the only reason why we have ever talked about the charity. The only reason why we ever talked about that is not to like weaponize it and be like, look how good of a guy I am. The only reason why we talked about it because motherfuckers. Listen, let me explain. Let me explain.
Does weaponize it? They do. And they allow them to. Okay.
Brother. The only reason why there was any discourse surrounding that was because a bunch of smarmy little fucking dipshits went in and literally went to Speed's chat and were like, it's a scam. It's a scam. The discourse revolving around it. And the reason why Will even brought it up to you was because people literally were saying it's a fucking scam. People were saying I'm pocketing the money.
Was wrong.
And the reason why Will brought that up is because of the unfair amount of criticism that I get that you should be able to as a person who gets a lot of unfair criticism by your...
You would only get criticism because there's inconsistencies in what you donate versus what you preach, right? If you were to show your dashboard for those 5 days you're in the charity, believe me, you yourself would understand those criticisms. Do you understand?
No, it wouldn't.
You don't think
you're
so?
wrong.
You don't think so?
Yes, okay. You're wrong. You're wrong. But not only are you wrong, you're also, not only are you wrong, you're also making a fucking assertion here and demanding certain things or even like implying certain things that would undermine... Not my, the amount of money I fucking put into the charity in and of itself, but also Like, that wasn't even supposed to be. I wasn't intending on putting $50,000 in there. I was intending on making a portal specifically so that we could making a portal specifically so that everyone else from the international community, as everyone fucking pitched in, put together more money than I ever could have, more money than even you could have. Maybe you could have put that much money. You have a lot of money. But ultimately, I created, in your words, a literal fucking system. There you go. So that should be charity and at work. That should be socialism at work. But it's still not enough because it's not enough for you because it's not about me or what I do. It's about how you perceive me.
No, see, once again, this is just mental gymnastics, political bullshit. It's theatrical. Completely theatrical.
Your only intention this time, I've been so charitable to you from the jump. The only reason why we've had this conversation is so that you can try and make me look bad over and over again. I've gone above and beyond trying to describe I've gone above and beyond because, like, ultimately this is good content. I've gone above and beyond describing things to you.
There is no gotcha moments here. We're having a discussion for the things that we disagree on to try and come together. Whether we
come to a Train. I'm not a fucking idiot. Like, I'm a dumb guy. I'm not a very smart guy. But brother, I am not that fucking dumb.
Listen, I've responded to you. I've given you very calm statements. This isn't a got you. I'm not going in on you. I'm not talking though.
Bro, you haven't budged an inch, dog. I literally told you I would apologize to you if you could find a clip because I genuinely would be in the wrong and you wouldn't give me that. But you have never,
Where do you want me to budge an inch?
Not a single fucking concession. Your understanding of socialism is incorrect. I tried to educate you on the matter. You didn't give a shit. I told you examples of
when socialism applies based on where you make the most money and where you don't.
No, but you're still doing it. Your literal example is you. XQC understands what I'm talking about. You have not been charitable at all.
Okay.
Well,
moderation is labor for your core moderator team. Do you understand?
Yes, it is to a certain degree. It is about what you put in. That is the entire point of socialism, if you want to consider that. But you're fucking bringing up moderators right now because you don't give a fuck about anything. You don't give a fuck about anything. You just care about trying to win a fucking argument, Train, and you're not going to win it.
I'm giving you my views, and you're giving me yours. Do you understand? Like, you're getting upset, but we're both just talking, trying to find a middle ground.
What if the problem is that...
No. I've been so nice to you.
What if the problem is that you both don't have the same definition of what the fuck socialism is? Well, we have a dialogue again. When you do philosophy,
Train, read. Okay, let's Google what socialism is. Socialism is a political philosophy and movement encompassing a range of economic and social systems which are characterized by social ownership of the means of production as opposed to private ownerships. As a term, it describes the economic, political, and social theories and movements associated with the implementations of such systems. Social ownership could be public, it could be community ownership, it could be collective ownership, or it could be a cooperative or employee stock ownership. While no single definition encapsulates the many types of socialism, social ownership is the one common element and is considered left-wing.
Yeah, I get it.
Do you think that is closer? Do you think that is closer to what I have described through the many different, as I also mentioned, like the many different types of socialism and different types of socialization structures, and how I have chosen to operate?
Yes, and do you understand that the anti-capitalism definitions within the theories of socialism, you preach, yet your entire business model is off of the capitalistic models? No, you decide. You cherry pick and choose which parts of socialism should apply based on your own
giving
models.
Giving the people the freedom to put as much in and also simultaneously take as much back. They do. Train, they do. That is entirely antithetical to how capitalist organizations work.
Right.
So when I say, hey,
of the moderators and your Twitch chat, your primary revenue source.
You've made merchandise, right? You've made merchandise.
I am not.
Train?
I don't preach what you preach.
Have
right?
you? Oh, so it's okay. So when you make merchandise made in fucking like Bangladesh or whatever, and you take the tidy profit off the tippy top with like some exploited Indonesian child factory laborer that you're drop shipping onto your fucking audience, then that's acceptable because hey, you never said you were a socialist. How about let's talk about your ethics a little bit for a little bit? Because considering from where I'm standing, I practice what I fucking preach. You are trying to poke holes in that. You think the moderator angle is an adequate one, so you're going to keep trying to fucking put that down. Go ahead. Tell us about how you make merch. Tell us about how much money you get paid from crypto gambling sponsorships. Tell us about the many people that have reached out to you saying, "Hey, Train, I have serious gambling issues. Could you please squeeze some money for me?" And then your reaction to that. Does that take a mental toll on you? We can have that conversation as well. Let's turn the crosshairs back to you. Let me behave like you do a little bit. And from where I'm standing, I think I have a reason to do this.
I'm not the one selling false hope while profiting off of that.
Yeah. You're not selling false hope? Yeah, because you said that gambling is bad? Whoa, book, gambling is bad. Meanwhile, you sit there and you generate hundreds almost of millions of dollars, maybe half of that now because Bitcoin
I get paid for exclusivity. I don't get paid off of others
totally,
losing.
Dude. Totally. Exactly. Also, on top of that, I do wish you well on Kick. I really do, because I want a competitor. I want a competitor to Twitch because I think that would make the platforms overall better. But make no mistake, ironically, you started off talking about how you hated how much titty streamers or fucking hot tub streamers and the meta was awful. And now you got porn on your platform. Now you got one of your main poster boys at Kick showing porn to minors. So maybe you now recognize the importance of moderation, especially as it pertains to an overall platform.
Wait. Let me respond to that. First of all, me going on rants about titty streamers 4 years ago or however long ago that was.
Oh, your positions have changed?
Oh, so have H3's positions changed?
Oh, no, I love that. I love that.
Can you change?
Yeah, of course. If your positions on titty streamers have changed, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Okay. I'm glad.
Okay.
But I don't think your positions have changed so much that you think it's okay to show minors porn, right? I don't think that's the case, right?
Of course not. That's definitely weird as hell for him to do that. But to bring it from the
How many days did he get banned for that? Off of Kick. How many days did Aiden Ross get banned off Kick for that?
That's not in my power, but I push for it all the time for these things to be bannable.
Okay. No, it's good. I just wanted to know. So you didn't ban him.
Listen,
did he
if
get
you're
banned?
so innocent in the areas you're innocent.
Did he get banned? Did he get banned off of Kick?
He did not.
He didn't even get banned for showing minors porn on Kick. That's crazy. You're one of the co-owners, aren't you? You're like one of the main people that speaks on this.
I'm an advisor. Yeah, I'm pushing for.
So you didn't advise them to fucking possibly ban the guy for showing porn to minors for a little bit?
I advised him to give a 24-hour, and I chewed him out when I called him, and he can confirm this.
Okay. Well, it's great. 24 hours? You think you should get banned only for 24 hours for showing minors porn? If you think do you think Twitch would? How would you react if Twitch literally fucking banned someone for 24 hours only? There have been instances. There have been instances where it's 72 hours, and even that's longer. And I'm sure you've advocated against that too. Why is there such a gigantic double standard here?
There isn't a gigantic double standard. Kick has been out for 4 months and is still in beta.
You as an advisor and as like a co-owner of a platform can't control Aiden, but you want me to fucking tell my editor what he can and can't say. That's an entirely different point of the conversation.
You want me to govern someone that is outside of my purview regarding my brand and as an advisor to Kick. I don't have that sort of power on Kick. Do you understand?
Okay.
You're filling that.
I don't have that kind of I don't have that kind of advisor power on Austinox. I don't think that is adequate to do either.
That is
no, I don't. No, I don't.
Really, you don't.
He's a whole ass adult. He's a grown ass adult. He works with other people too when he wants to. I don't have that. I don't expect to have that.
Between you and Austinox, your number one editor and your number one man, is the comparison to streamers that stream on Kick, and compared to me as being an advisory role for Kick.
I think the advice you should have given was maybe a little bit harder than 24 hours. Maybe you should have railed a little bit harder on Kick. In the way that you expect us to rail on fucking Twitch
and maybe you
ban gambling.
And
you have a little bit more control over Kick than we do over Twitch, don't you?
And maybe you should have put a little bit more effort or the same effort you did for the gambling bans that you do for the small to mid-sized creators on the platform while you sit there having a $10 million+ contract. Why don't you put that on hold and push for the small to mid-sized
I really
creators
love
on
that you
Twitch?
think I have a $10 million+ contract. That'd be fucking awesome. Thank you.
I'm talking about ad incentive deals.
Amazon does not put out flat contracts for
We're not talking about lump sums.
anymore.
I'm talking about the ad incentive heavy deals. If he runs the ads
Even then,
top of the hour like he does, you'll push easily 6 figures plus up to 10 million easily if you do the hours.
I hope. I wish. I mean, that's some wishful thinking. But you know what that reminds me of? At the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. And if you no longer want to see those ads, you can subscribe. You can use one other thing that I can't tell you what it is, but you know what it is. Winky face. Here's the 3-minute ad break now.
Interesting. Yeah.
Hey, listen, you guys, you guys are both wrong and right, and you're already in bad faith.
What am I wrong on? Come on, Felix, get out of here.
I mean, okay, you are wrong because you're.
Tell me what I'm wrong.
He's also wrong.
So wrong.
Oh, you're also wrong.
Tell me what. I will address it.
One. Your misunderstanding and purposeful misconstruing of how TOS works and how it is enforced. Somebody has with a track record of how many years of streaming and how many infractions that they've had, right? And what is the nature of the infractions and the extent, and on top of that, what would
I think the nature of the infraction was pretty aggressive in regards to Aiden.
A significant amount of stuff. Okay, that goes.
Do you think deliberately showing porn to minors, even if it's your first infraction on the platform, deserves longer than 24 hours?
I think the argument that doing anything is for minors is in bad faith. I think.
Do you think deliberately showing? Do you think deliberate? Sure, fine. Okay, you think that's bad faith? I don't think that's bad faith. They openly stated that they were minors after. But okay, deliberately showing pornographic material to your audience that you know may have actual minors involved in it. Do you think that is worthy, even if it's plus 18? Do you think that's worthy of simply 24 hours?
Well, I think it can be to a certain extent almost illegal. I'm not sure it's illegal to do that. Okay, so then.
So you think it's worthy of longer than 24 hours? Because Train said he advised, which he has a lot more power over Kick, I think, than we do over Twitch. He advised for a 24-hour ban.
Yeah. I would assume that over there, not a lot of infractions have taken place yet, right? I'm playing devil's advocate, right? I don't know how they enforce the TOS. I know what even is the TOS. Yes, there should be a punishment for that, and it's trash, okay? Are we going to duplicate their TOS, how it works over here, how it works over there? I think we're operating in overall bad faith because of the simple thought that you try to call them out for hypocrisy over the TOS, right? When in fact, the discussion over TOS was how it was enforced on a non-consistent manner back in the days when it came down to certain people doing certain things, not getting banned, and overall, right? And it just didn't make sense, right? That was the real problem, is that they said, don't do this, and here's all the limitations, and it would get broken all the time, and it would get away with it because of multiple factors. I'm not going to state because I'm going to get banned. If I speak, I'm banned, okay?
If I had the power to ban, believe me, a lot of creators on that site would be banned right now.
Like the other guy who copped Dome on fucking camera, that was crazy too. I mean, I think he got banned for what, 24 hours? I think
that was bad.
Yeah,
yes.
I'm just saying that, like, things, I
believe me. Listen, what you think moderation should be on Kick, I'm pushing for and advising for. They believe in free platform.
I hope it works, and I hope the clip system works as well. I am excited to see what happens with Kick.
Yeah.
Okay, last thing. I'll play devil's advocate and say,
or platforming Nazis. I think that's pretty bad too, honestly.
Guys,
but that's
agreed.
Just me.
I completely agree with that.
will go ahead, okay, and play devil's advocate and say that I think Kick. People had the wrong idea of what the terms of service were because
they did, and I've talked about this many times.
To a colossal way, almost like a 99% of people thought, "Oh, this is what Kick is."
People need to understand there is a difference between freedom of speech and hate speech. Do you understand? There is a major difference there. Hate speech is not allowed. I'm pushing for us to get a moderation team in place to get this removed across the site. Do you understand? This is the issue. A lot of people have come over thinking free speech means hate speech. That is not the case. Do you understand?
Well, that's usually why they do that. It's like a disingenuous way of framing it. Every platform has, even 4chan has like some speech restrictions on even poll. It's a normal part of the process of like regulating any sort of forum or any sort of place where people congregate. But a lot of Nazis will often utilize that as a reason. But I agree, and I think I'm happy that you are against it. I mean, maybe you'll have advice on how many days they should be banned, but you know, that does seem like a good idea.
I agree with you. And yeah,
I think hate
longer than a
speech should never be allowed. But I do sometimes I feel like sometimes people are personally misconstruing what is a freedom of speech to try to extend it to whether it's, oh guys, that's hate speech, ban
they
it.
pervert freedom of speech to justify their hate. It's disgusting. It's completely disgusting to pervert, like, you know, the boundaries of freedom of speech and to try and justify the use of hate speech. It's completely disgusting, and I see it happen all the time.
Technically, hate speech is protected under free speech, just for the record, in the United States of America, at least. It's just that private platforms oftentimes have a different level of restrictions, which is understandable. Like I said,
yeah, by hate speech, I'm referring to the speech that brings like harm to others.
Violence,
I mean, hate speech is part of that.
Call to actions or the pseudo call to actions are really, 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 really bad. I mean, I think everybody can agree on that. That's just fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I don't know if we're gonna actually make any amends here, but one last thing, I briefly alluded to this, was the one condition that I told Felix, and I said this publicly, so maybe you heard about it as well, was whether or not you would apologize for your reaction to my reaction originally to your otherwise relatively vague post about Misgif. I thought that in and of itself was a big messed up thing to do. I had this conversation with XQC as well. The reality of the situation is that, like, part of the reason why I at least even began to forgive XQC was because he apologized for it. And he thought that it was, he said in that process some things that he didn't even personally believe in, specifically for trolling or whatnot. But I did think, are you there?
Can you leave?
So yeah, that's what I was wondering, if that is.
I was
something
juicing up while sitting here.
The wrong order, you dipshit fuck.
Let me guess. I forgot your sauce. Oh, he hasn't the headphones on. Anyways, so correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, this is what I recall from that situation. I was upset that you and Pokey dismissed it without having the facts, and I believe you should have not spoken on it at all until you had further facts. At the very least, remain neutral, say nothing until you gather the facts. But instead, in front of like 60 to 80,000 combined viewers, it was dismissed in that moment, which, in my opinion, creates that kind of biased lens of how people see, her account, right? To me, that was dangerous. So that's why I did what I did. It was more so your initial reaction, which I think I'd assume you would agree. You probably should have said nothing until you gathered more details and facts surrounding the situation. Whereas you kind of just, If you look at the original video, which I don't want to even rerun this part of the saga again. Yeah. You will notice that both Pokey and I were otherwise confused. There was a lot of vague sentiments expressed in that tweet in and of itself, which I think even Destiny said that you were, in his words, a dumb fuck for posting like that, because the tweet in and of itself even basically opens you up for slander, considering that you had stated that there was multiple sexual assaults that possibly Misgif himself engaged in. Like it lent itself to so much. It lent itself to so much confusion in that situation that it was, I think, reasonable for someone like myself to read that, given the context, given how, at the time people were railing against gambling, Misgif included, that it seemed like you were retaliating with vague accusations that were criminal. And you said blackmail was involved as well. I don't know if there was any proof ever shown of that as well. Not making any assertions on that beyond this, but I think that I'm not even excusing Misgif or any way. We've talked about it endlessly, but at least I think my interpretation on that was relatively charitable. However, your privately recorded phone conversations and your elation at the fact that a sexual assault victim bringing my name up in that confusion, that stuck with me. Did your name
over the course of many years, you've said, I was, leading the charge against you and shitting on you about React videos and whatnot. All of that stuff, I just kind of cast aside. I said, fuck it, whatever. He's just trained being a big old goof. It's whatever. Ultimately, it'll be fine. But what I cannot forget is how excited you were, particularly when a sexual assault victim brought up my name and how I had originally reacted to her twit longer, which I now know was written differently. That is very hurtful. I know that a lot of people watch us and think we're fucking characters, playing a reality TV show. But that was genuinely a fucked up thing that I think you did, which was my first and primary thing that I wanted to talk to you about.
So what you're referring to is what I brought up originally. If I recall, I said that I had an issue with the way you initially reacted to it, and you should have said nothing until you gathered more details and facts. That's what I recall saying about you, right?
It was a bit more than that, I believe. You heavily implied that I was orchestrating a cover-up of you being the champion of, women's rights and advocating for someone who was victimized in this circumstance, even though my reaction literally was nothing. It was confusion, which was the reaction I think shared universally almost. So much so that, like I said, people who are ostensibly on your side have criticized you for the way you delivered this otherwise incredibly sensitive information. And not only that, but also, it was very vague. It was so vague that it could even, put you up for possible slander.
Right.
And then you also reacted in the private phone call with elation as well. I personally, in that moment, said, I don't want to say anything on this before I get more additional information. There's more. Oh, fuck. I can't believe I forgot this, too. You kept alluding to me and Pokimane and how you had nukes. I don't think this is something that a person who is a particularly kind individual, a welcoming individual, someone who, believes in, fostering a community would do. I don't think that nukes, from what I understand, even, again, someone who doesn't even like me all that much, Destiny, brought to you and said, do not fucking use this because it is literally slanderous and completely false. There's no evidence of it. And when more evidence was presented, it was openly described as false.
I agreed with
Destiny. I want to know. Yeah,
I agree with Destiny on.
Yeah.
On
why did you bring up? Why did you bring up the potential of nukes in this circumstance?
I wasn't referring
against both
to that.
me and Pokimane as well.
I wasn't referring to that thing that you're talking about. Believe me, I was on the same page with Destiny. Do you understand? I was listen, if I believed in that, that would have came up. It didn't for a reason. You understand? I don't let Destiny advise what I say and what I don't say, right? I would have said it if I believed in it. I didn't say it because I didn't think there was merit to it, or at the very least, there wasn't enough information to corroborate it. Therefore, it'd be disingenuous to go off on that, right? And that's why I did not.
Do you think any of these things, whether it's possibly implementing me in the cover up of a sexual assault, or looking for nukes in this particular matter, warrants an apology?
Yes, I don't believe you tried covering up a sexual assault. If anything I said implied that, then yes, I apologize. What I do stand by, though, is when I said I believe your initial reaction should have been to say nothing. If you were confused, you should have said nothing until you gathered the correct information. That, I think, is a reasonable take. But yes, my behavior in the call, when it became about me and you personally, that was inappropriate on my end, and I do apologize for that. That was very irrational of me. I made it about me and you. That part, I apologize about. That was inappropriate.
Thank you, Trainer. I appreciate that. Do you appreciate that, Hasan?
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
So that part I can see eye to eye with you on my behavior in the call, and I was like, for you, right? That's inappropriate. It has nothing to do with you or me, right? That was insensitive and inappropriate. So that
also on top of that, my original reaction was that this is sensitive matters. I have a policy usually to never cover sensitive matters immediately as soon as it happens. This happens all the time. I cover the news pretty much 24/7. And for that reason, we even will often block certain terms because people keep bringing it up, whether it be a mass shooting or whether it be something as serious as a sexual assault accusation within the community. This is precisely why I reacted the way I did. Not sure what your expectation of me was in my original reaction, just to go,
I
wow.
think it was the reaction with Pokey, right? It was just that initial reaction of kind of dismissing. That was what I was referring to. But when you later went and said what you just said, that is more appropriate, right?
Okay. I think what I'm trying to say is that the initial reaction wasn't either neutral or understanding. It's more towards the other side. And he says that sometimes when a big platform happens is that things snowball and will kind of like, even if it's a small word or a small gesture, it takes like a second, it can have repercussions that are of size, I think. I think that's what he means by that, right? Right?
Oh, you're talking to me? Yes.
Oh.
For the initial reaction, your second, right? The second thing you said about how you want to get all the information, you don't want to go over the sensitive topic and give the wrong ideas. That is the appropriate way to go about it. So
that is what I did.
The second attempt was very good. Yes,
it's not a second attempt. It was like literally what you talk about, how things are clipped out of context so regularly, and I'm sure things get clipped out of context for you all the time. We spent a long time talking about how you got clipped out of context when you were having a conversation with Will. You understand that the longer context of that, which was a little bit over, I guess, 20 seconds, would have shown you immediately that that was my original reaction in that day. That was my original reaction in general, which is
but what I was referring to
is that your vague post was confusing to me, as it was almost universally to others, and that
yeah, but if I recall,
I said I need more information before I can make an assessment. Not that it matters. You're saying you're not apologizing for that. You're saying you're apologizing for laughing about it or getting excited about it.
Yeah, in the Discord call where I made it about you and me, that was highly inappropriate and that was wrong of me, and I apologize for that. Yes.
Listen.
What the fuck is this? Chew your food. Chew your food.
Listen. Something important. Come. Okay, fair enough. Motherfucker, fuck you, man. Yeah. Sometimes, are you familiar with cognitive dissonance? Right? Well, initial reactions are important because. Yeah. Hold up, sorry about that. Initial reactions are important because if you say something in your initial stance that is one thing, right? Then it's very, very difficult to tackle this idea away from people that are watching to make a new one, right? That's just how everything is, right? It's why, like, debunking and defending is much harder because once you've said something or reacted a certain way, right? You've planted an idea in everybody's head, and now working against that to toss that away and make a new one is much harder than it was to plant the initial idea itself initially. That's just how it works. It's like basic psychology, literally. Do you understand how that works or not?
Yes.
You get that?
Yeah. So I was juicing up so I could stay here.
Debunking, removing, disproving an idea is much harder than to intake an idea from the get-go. It's just how it is. It's why what? Okay. Now we can move on from that. I think you apologize for that. That was fine because you made more about you guys than the topic at hand. I had to apologize for that initially a while back. I think the whole site was fucking absolutely shit, dumbhead. I think I'm not gonna blame the people, but I think things escalated and make things that since they're live make things like completely just getting things crazy. Yeah.